Fantastic. Well, I'm so excited to be here with Dr. Hahn, our sole finalist for the president position here at Boise State. Dr. Hahn, thank you so much for being here. We're so excited you're here on campus.
Delighted to be here, Joe. It's been a wonderful, wonderful process and journey to get here to this day.
Good. Yes, we've been waiting for you
for
a while.
Absolutely.
Would it be okay if this is just an opportunity for the folks on campus who might not be here over the summer
Yes.
to get to know you better? Would it be okay if I ask you some questions?
Wonderful.
Okay, fantastic.
Looking forward to a dialogue.
Let's get to know you a little bit more. Dr. Hahn, tell us a bit about your academic journey.
It's been a great one. I graduated from LSU, the Tigers. I grew up in Louisiana. I did my bachelor's degree and PhD from LSU. I graduated in mechanical engineering. After I wrapped up at LSU, we moved up to Washington, D.C. I worked for the Food and Drug Administration for about 2 years. I was an NRC fellow. I worked on laser tissue interactions. I worked on early LASIK eye surgery. Cool. And great time in DC. Then we moved across the country and went to California. I worked for Sandia National Labs for 4 years. It's a great opportunity, world-class research. And as I mentioned, National Labs, I look forward to getting to know Idaho National Labs. I'm a bit of an energy person myself, so I really look forward to that. And I really ultimately wanted to be a professor. And so after 4 years, I left Sandia, moved back across the country, and went to the University of Florida. Joined the Gator Nation and spent 21 years there.
Wow,
so
that's amazing.
the classic, that was my academic career, assistant professor, associate professor, full professor, and then ultimately I became the department head for 8 years.
Yeah.
And that was a really wonderful opportunity. The Mechanical and Aerospace Department at the University of Florida was the largest department on campus by enrollment. So we had about 2,300 students.
Yeah.
It was quite a job, but it also, I guess you could say, honed my leadership skills. I've always been a leader that really focuses on people.
Yeah.
I believe that leaders have to set a strategy and vision, but I'm a big alignment person. So it's bringing people along for the journey of where we're going and, creating that trust and cultivating the talent. So those are how I approach that. I did that for 8 years. Time goes fast. Yeah. And then our children kind of left the nest. I was proud to have all three of our kids went to the University of Florida. So when that last one was kind of moving through, and she was an engineer, by the way, so cool. I was proud of her, proud of all of them. Then look for some of those next opportunities, and the University of Arizona, like Boise State, which we'll talk about in a moment, was kind of the right place at the right time. So I moved back across the country. We went to Tucson, Arizona. I became the Craig M. Burge Dean of the College of Engineering at the University of Arizona, where I've been for the last 7 years. Yeah. And that's been just wonderful. We've really moved that college in a very positive way. We've brought in some wonderful new team members, faculty and staff, students. And so, that led to ultimately considering this opportunity, which we can talk more about. That's kind of my journey.
Fantastic. So you mentioned being a leader in the deanship. What is something you're most proud of during your time in leadership?
That's a great question. As I was moving from the University of Arizona, and sort of thinking about summarize and sharing some thoughts with my team, that's the question that comes up, right? And I'm very proud of our programming, our educational endeavors. We've built some new programs. We've collaborated across the campus. Certainly proud of our research. We've tripled the research at the University of Arizona College of Engineering in 7 years. Some great people, some really impactful areas that are aligned with the nation. But I say this always, I'm most proud of just the people and the culture we created in that college. It's all about a sense of team. It's all about, working hard together, but doing that with kindness, doing that with respect, doing that with a sense of teamwork and camaraderie. And that culture is absolutely what I'm most proud of.
I love that. What makes you passionate about working in higher ed?
Yeah, from day one, I really wanted to go into academia because I always believe in the power of education. As a professor, both of us, that ability to help train and shape young people to move forward. You know, when you think about students that transition from the 18-year-old first-year student to the senior or even the graduate student, it's such a transformative time in their young lives. And if we can be a part of that, if we can help set them on a trajectory that will, you know, change their life forever, that's very satisfying, and it's something that I believe in, you know, throughout my entire academic career. It's that educational mission. And that educational mission goes hand in hand with our research mission. You know, I think sometimes people think it's education and research, but they go together. When we do research at an academic institution, we're certainly advancing knowledge, but we're training graduate students and postdocs and disseminating knowledge and bringing undergraduates into the laboratory. So it's all hand in hand.
Yeah. What a privilege to get to be a part of that, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, if you had to summarize, what kind of leader are you? I think the people would really want to hear that.
Yeah, that's a good one. You know, I at the University of Florida, I went through one of their leadership training year-long classes. I'm sure there's one here. And I have basically embraced that leadership model, and I use it to this day. Most of my colleagues on my own leadership team could probably recite this, but I talk about 4 things: vision, alignment, trust, and talent. Leaders have to help create a vision and a strategy towards that vision. That's important. That's what we are expected and hired to do. But secondly, and I love the word alignment. Alignment is both internal and external. If a leader is setting a vision that no one else is following or buys into, that's not leadership. And so we talk a lot about alignment. You know, that's explaining to why and where we're going. It's helping the people that are going to be a key part of making that a success come along for the journey and understanding why and where we're going. And that's so important. I think we've all been in situations in life where someone says, this is what we're doing and just do it. And that's not leadership. So alignment is key. And then alignment also goes externally, right? It's sometimes helping donors in the community align with where we're going, but it's also listening to align with their expectations and where they want to go. The Board of Education, the legislature, what are priorities for the state of Idaho so that we can help meet those educational and research priorities. Trust is sort of obvious, but not everyone does it. You know, trust is built and earned through transparency and communication. Even when there are hard decisions, it's explaining those decisions so that people may not always agree, but at least they understand the rationale. And then finally, talent. You know, we're only as good as the people. And so it's always about recruiting and retaining and valuing the people on your team so that people have opportunities to rise and go to the next level. That's what good leaders do, is foster people around them to reach their greatest potential. So vision, alignment, trust, and talent. You'll hear a lot about that.
I love it. I love it. I love the way you talk about trust and talent. Okay, this is the most hard-hitting question I have, sir. Why do you want to be president of Boise State University?
Honest statement, 7 years at the University of Arizona, the first opportunity I listened to was Boise State University. You know, you get to a point where you get those search firms calling and saying, are you interested in this or interested in that? And I was always, no, no, no. And then Boise State called, Russell Reynolds, and I said, you know what, this intrigues me. And there's a lot in that question, so I'll say a few words about it. Now, a lot of people sort of the stereotype that deans become provosts. Provosts are extremely important positions in our world. My boss is the provost. But if you really step back, provosts and presidents are very different positions. I sort of believe that presidents are very similar to deans in their roles. You know, we set academic missions, we set research direction, we engage both within the campus and externally with donors and lawmakers and business community. That's what I do as a dean, and that's really what a president does. A slightly larger scope, a more inclusive view of the entire campus, but I've always had that view of the totality of what a campus is. So that really sort of guided that, yes, if I leave this wonderful job that I have now as Dean of Engineering, and it's a spectacular job, it would only be to be a president at the right school. And then the second part of that question was, why Boise State? Opportunity, momentum, everything. It just has everything going for it. You know, the future of this institution is so bright. I said this at various stages throughout the interviewing process that, Boise State is not a fixer-upper. It's not a cleanup job. It is in amazing shape. The momentum, the trajectory, off the chart. Idaho is a fantastic place to come to, and that's important to me. Wherever we've gone, there are times when you look for the job and you go where the job is, but when I looked to be a dean and when I looked for this opportunity, first time ever, as I said, the where was important. The beautifulness of Idaho, the community, the sense of pride, where the state is going with the growing economy, the industries around from, ranching to business to, semiconductor manufacturing. Everything is here. The Broncos. I mean, everyone in the United States knows the blue field. What an opportunity to have a great national brand like that. And I've been able to spend some time with our athletic director, Jeremiah Dickey. Wonderful, wonderful person, AD of the year. And I think that the future on athletics is bright. It's dynamic, but I think there's some really great things to be accomplished.
I love that. Okay, so have you been on the blue yet?
I have been on the blue.
Perfect.
During my last visit, they took me out on the field, Erica did, and I stood right on the Bronco logo. It's beautiful. It's really
very cool.
Neat to see it in person.
Yes.
You see it on television. Some people do I have to adjust my screen? Is that real? But it's beautiful.
Oh,
and
I'm
it's
so
just
glad.
So iconic.
Good. Yep. It's critical here. So I'm so glad you've been there.
Absolutely.
Is it okay if I ask some questions that just let the people get to know you a little bit better?
Absolutely.
Okay. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Louisiana.
Okay.
Moved to New Orleans when I was 9 months old.
Okay.
Lived there till about 12. Moved up to Baton Rouge, the capital of Louisiana. Finished growing up there. Went to LSU right there in town. And so we still have a lot of roots in Louisiana. My daughter, oldest, just moved back to Louisiana after she was 2 months old when we left. So a little full circle moment there.
I love that. Okay, what do you enjoy doing in your free time?
Yes.
When you're not deaning or potentially presidenting, what do you enjoy doing?
We really enjoy getting out in nature. We have an old Jeep. We like to hit the, Boise is not so different from Tucson in that you can get out of the town into some real, out into the country, into the back country. So we love to go explore the roads. We have a wonderful, we're empty nesters. Our 3 children have moved on to big things, but we have a little Jack Russell Terrier named Ophelia, she's ready to hike all day. And so we love to go hiking and hit the trails, explore. We're nature people.
That's amazing. I have an English bulldog named George Michael who doesn't hike and who would die on a hike. So we don't have the same hiking situation.
Do not.
But I love that. I love that about Ophelia. Okay, anything you would want to share about other hobbies you enjoy?
Yeah, that's a good question. Besides hiking in nature that my wife and I like to do together, I like working, I like gardening. I've really fallen in love with the flora of the Sonoran Desert. I probably have 20 varieties of cactuses growing on cacti growing on our around our house. You can propagate cactus by cutting off and repotting, and so I really enjoy that. It's just kind of quiet time potting a cactus and watching them grow, and so gardening we both enjoy that. We like the arts, we like museums. I think there's a vibrant arts community in Boise, so we're looking forward to being a part of that and learning more. Exploring. And we like to do a little traveling when we have some time.
Good for you. The Morrison Center is awesome.
It sounds it.
Yes. Okay, so the last big question, what's your hope? What do you hope to accomplish here?
Yeah. Again, as I said very clearly, this university is in an amazing place. It has the momentum, it has students, it has a great connection to the community, again, the athletics brand. But what do I hope to accomplish in my tenure? Should all that come together at the end of the month? Is I think we can accomplish a little more.
Yeah.
I think on the research front,
Sure.
it's a stated goal by the board and everyone that we'd like to become an R1. I think we're right on the cusp, if not just about there. Right. So that when we get that credit will go to a lot of people, not just me. Maybe I come in for the announcement right. Because that's years in the making.
Yeah.
You know, I really look forward to helping on the research front. I really look forward to helping to shape that thoughtfully and strategically, you know, back to alignment. You know, how can we align research with needs of Idaho?
Yeah.
How can we partner with industry? How can we align with national needs right now? You know, when you look at the United States, it's, you know, onshoring again of manufacturing and, you know, minerals processing. There's so many exciting areas. Healthcare, you know, one of the things we started at Arizona was a program which we called Cancer Engineering. It was a collaboration between engineering and health sciences and the Cancer Center. We have a NIH designated comprehensive cancer center, all about bringing cross-disciplinary talents together to tackle something like cancer. And so I really look forward to finding the talent that we have here. What are the pockets of excellence? Work with all of the deans, you included, to say, okay, where can we add? Maybe where can we open a new front? You know, resources are always going to be tight, so we just can't do everything everywhere. We need to be thoughtful and strategic. But I'd like to carve out some additional areas to say, let's push here a little bit. Let's take the talent we have on this campus, the students, the staff, and the faculty, and let's move a little forward in these areas. So we will work on that, and I think there's just amazing opportunity on the research front. Athletics, we got to win championships. Let's be clear about that. So the Pac-12, you know, Arizona was in the Pac-12 before we weren't. So now I'm going back into the Pac-12, hopefully, and I think that's exciting. And I think that Boise State football can win championships in the Pac-12. You know, go to the playoffs. I mean, the sky's the limit, but again, a lot of work to do there, right? And then, you know, finally, just engaging heavily with all of the communities of Idaho that are relevant to us. I think that's important. You know, relationships are what drive success in the long term, and that's with our donor communities who have been very generous to this campus. Buildings like this, you already exceeded your $500 million campaign goal. That's amazing. So a lot of gratitude, and then, you know, you don't stop though, right? You look at the next steps. You know, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. We've got work to slow and steadily do. Coming in new is a wonderful advantage, in that I can bring some other ideas and thoughts that have worked in other institutions, some fresh ideas, but also I need to learn all the wonderful people on this campus and the great things that are going. So a lot of listening, a lot of learning, a lot of getting to know people. Our deans, you know, as a dean, I've always really kept close, I like to say, to my department head hat and to my faculty hat, because it informs how I think. You know, I still consider myself a member of the faculty. I still took a lot of learning from being a department head. I work really closely with my department heads. I want to have that relationship with the deans. You know, I know we have dinner coming up in a few days, and I really look forward to that, to getting to know each of you, understanding your needs, and so we can together as a team do great things. Yeah,
fantastic. Well, is there any last thing or anything you'd like to add just for the people to get to know you a little bit better?
You've covered a lot, and I'm excited about that. You know, I always have maintained a curious mind. You know, that's what drew me into research, to academia. And I look forward to learning, really embracing this community. It's just a beautiful place. Idaho you're the gem state, but it's a gem.
It is.
And I just looking forward to being a part of that, to being a part of this campus, to you know, having the pride in what is Boise State and what Boise State can be. It's exciting.
Dr. Hahn, we are so thrilled you're here.
Thank you.
We are so thrilled that you're interested and excited about being on campus, and we just hope this visit goes great. And thank you so much for giving the opportunity for folks to get to know you.
A wonderful conversation.
Thank you. Thank you
so much.
Look forward to more.
We're going to have fun.
Yeah.